I think that's good.
Okay.
The light is good. You have a shadow, but I think that's good.
It's behind.
Okay, good.
So we're live, yes? Okay, I think we're live. So we'll get started. I wanted to welcome everyone to this conversation with Albert Serra. I'm Dennis Lim, Director of Programming at Film at Lincoln Center. As part of our activities, during our closure, we have launched a virtual cinema. We're adding new films to it every week. And since Friday, we've been showing the new film by Albert Serra called Liberté. Liberté premiered at Cannes nearly a year ago. We also showed it at the New York Film Festival last fall. And we're working with the film's US distributor on this digital release, Cinema Guild. So thank you to them for their help. This is a film that I think it's a film that lends itself to the immersiveness of the big screen, but certain aspects of it also work for home viewing. So we're glad that we could add this film to our virtual cinema lineup. And I'm very pleased today to have Albert Serra joining us for a live conversation. So welcome, Albert, and thank you for being here with us.
Hello, thank you for inviting me. I am very pleased that you showed the film, so it's a pleasure to be with you.
We have some audio. I think we're if you're watching on YouTube now, you can type your comments. Type your questions into the comment section. We've also had a few people submit questions via social media, so I will be drawing from those as well. But Albert, first of all, just tell us how are things with you? I know Spain has been one of the hardest hit countries and has had some of the strictest lockdown measures. How are you doing? How have you been spending your days?
Well, I am okay, and all the people linked with me are more or less okay. And people stays at home is the only thing to do. So for me, it was a little bit, despite all the problems and all the difficulties for everybody, it has been a healthy moment spiritually, because I started to have a lot of time to do things that I cannot do usually. So it was a relief somehow. And I am happy to have passed these days, because I stay with the family and I did some things that I would have never done if it's not because of these super strange circumstances. So, okay.
Things like what?
I don't know, staying here. I have my grandmother that is still alive, and she's, for example, she's 96, and we are there. She's in very good health, in mental health and also physical. She's independent, live in an independent house. But I go there and I spend some time with her, talking about things probably it could never happen. He will die, and I will never have time to talk about some things. So at this point, it was quite nice. Okay, but I know it's not an easy ongoing situation for anybody, but okay. For me, it was until now.
Good. So I thought we could just start by having you tell us a bit about how Liberté originated. It's a film that has, I think, certain similarities with your other work in terms of the period, in terms of your approach. But this was somewhat different in that it evolved from a stage play. I think the year before the film premiered, it was you staged a production called Liberté at the Volksbühne in Berlin. So I wonder if you could just tell us how Liberté went from originated on stage and then became a film.
Well, it was a mix of different circumstances. First of all, I was very proud of the theater play, but it was very controversial. And at the same time, I realized that theater language was missing something. The approach of camera, the capacity of the eye of the camera to really capture some things that in theater it's impossible, because you are far and because you have to develop it in a different way. And then when I was there, I felt that something was missing. And also because another circumstance was that it was premiered during the Berlin Film Festival, and there was a lot of cinema people there in the premiere. And there was a producer, and he told me, why don't you do it in cinema? And he said, you know, you have the decor, and it was right, because we built the decor for the theater play, for that stage. And he said, why don't we make a film? It's very easy. We only have a forest, some libertines, and with the camera, with your style, it will fit. And I said, okay, but with this idea that it should be an easy or a fast film to do. I didn't want to write a new script. So there was subtitles in the play, and the subtitles in the play that were translated to English were translated to French, because for the funding, and the play was in German, but the film is in French. So they translate the subtitles, and that was the script of the film, in fact, and everything I had in my mind, but nothing else. And we really got with this idea of the 3 cameras, the performance, you know, the true idea of the fatality of the performance, of shooting everything just once, and, you know, and in the darkness of the real night. We shoot the whole film during the night, during 15 days or 20 days in a real forest, using part of the decor we bought to the Volksbühne. But I like this express way of working, because the fatality was bigger. There we didn't know what we were doing. In fact, there was the usual lack of communication I always have with technicians, with actors. But then the script was nothing, was something that was in my mind, was subtitles. I was not even, nobody was with the script in their hand. So we're really living that space and that moment, that every night, to just shoot it as if it was a real cruising area, in fact, because there was nothing, just the arbitrary things that went to my mind as arbitrary things that, you know, the characters do there, sexual things. It came to my mind, and it came to us the same way. Just to provoke, but to create something, or to I don't know, to live something simply that you don't live usually in the shootings. And there it was quite radical, and it was quite intense in this way, and nobody knew what people is getting used, so they became a little bit more comfortable to the system, and gradually during the shooting. But at the same time, as nudity is involved, they are never totally comfortable, because, you know, they are never in control of their own image. There are a lot of tricky points. We can talk about them now. But, you know, the fatality was bigger, and I like this. And at the end, I was happy, because it was a normal film. We end up having a normal, more or less conventional cinema film, a cinematic, you know, coherent film, not just, you know, a performance. And I don't know, it was an approach that teach me a lot, and I am very proud of it, because you cannot see this kind of things very often nowadays.
There was another iteration of this work in between the stage production and the film, which was an installation that you made that was staged at the Reina Sofia Museum in Madrid. And that seems to me like an interesting and important sort of development in terms of translating this from the stage to the screen. The installation is, if I'm not mistaken, there's no dialogue, right? And it's a 2-screen installation, and the 2 screens are facing each other. So the viewer is in this sort of interesting position of being in a very immersive environment, but never really being able to see both screens at the same time, which raises all these questions about, you know, perspective and point of view, and looking, and who is looking at what, which is very much part of the cinematic language of Liberté, the film. So if you can talk a little bit about, you know, that middle stage of the work for you.
Yes, well, you describe it quite well. I mean, there we had, as always with these pieces that are for the museums, the performance element, it's important, because people there, you know, they will not stay there to listen for dialogues for a long time. So you have to trust that the images will be enough powerful, and the effect on their bodies, on their, I don't know, as an experience, a total experience, will be higher. So we started to edit the film with this goal in mind, to create really something physically, you know, in the audience. And I think we get some point. We trust the images. We saw, and we realized that the images were enough strong to create this effect with these two screens that you were a little bit lost there. You didn't know who was looking. It looked like that sometimes the people on the screen were looking at you. Sometimes no, you were a hidden voyeur of really outrageous acts that you were witnessing. So I think that we realize that we have enough strong image at this performatic level that the images will impact you physically. Then it was in the middle. This was in between the theater play and the images, with the same images more or less that the images we will use for the film. So this gave us a lot of self-confidence that we could have a powerful film, normal film there too. But we started to add new layers. We wanted to make it more rich with dialogues, with a little bit of a story, a little bit of plot, to creating a little bit more of ambiguity and confusion between this typical subject I really love, between the person, the actor, the character, to create more strange moments, this to develop in a more complex way, but with only one single screen, this idea of multiple points of views, that it's not very common in cinema in general. You have multiple points of views of a story, they play sometimes with the script and they arrive to create multiple points of view of narrative issues. But to create, this idea that you don't know who is shooting any image and for what, why this concrete image, every concrete image has this perspective and no other, it looks like that it's like a lost mise en scène, that it's a totally random or arbitrary mise en scène sometimes. But still, you need some coherence inside. If not, it will be a total performance, perfectly suitable for a museum, but for a cinema, it can get too confused. But I think that we reach with these two sides, extreme sides, we get something that is in the middle, and I think it reproduces a little bit the impact of the theater play and also the multiplicity of point of views, adding new layers of historical, narrative, content, also maybe some comments of the world of nowadays in a strange and hidden way, but it collects more issues, more subjects that were a little bit out of the piece in the museum. So I think but without the museum, without this installation, I think we will have passed a lot of time to find the best possible film with all the footage we had, as always, because we had more than 300 hours. And to find the right film or the best possible film with all that footage, it's not an easy task, because it's always because it's full. In general, I can say modestly that it had some qualities. When we discovered, we didn't know during the shooting, but afterwards in the edit, we saw that there were some strengths in the material, but it was not easy to find a way to organize all this material. And the installation helped us a lot on self-confidence and on an idea of the whole thing.
I'm going to ask a question that was submitted by Alejandro. The question actually relates to what you were saying. The question, what is the atmosphere like on set? And it sounds, based on what you're saying, that a very important part of getting the effect that you want is creating an atmosphere on the set. So if you can say a little bit more about what it's like, and I think some people are familiar with your method, but maybe some others are not, about how you use multiple cameras. They're all, they're running almost all the time. And there's a certain, your relationship with the actors, in which they are often, I think abandoned is a word you've used, in which they're often not given very clear direction. And there's a certain level of discomfort and ambiguity that is part of this atmosphere that you're creating.
Yes, and this was part of the subject of the film in this case. It's always a part of the subject of any film, because since there is a camera, you feel some fragility, you feel some weaknesses as an actor. But okay, this is another subject. But here, yes, everything was more explicit in some sense, because since nudity is involved, people behaves differently. And I have the 3 cameras, they are shooting. They use zooms. I never use fixed lenses. This means that the cameras have operators, and they usually are small cameras. It means that there is only one operator per camera, and it means that they have independence and they can move during every scene, because I only shoot the scenes, not shots. So I shoot the whole scene. I never repeat the same scene, or almost never, always doing variations. And so it's a permanent, permanent recording of a performance. That it has some rules, very, very small, few rules of never stopping, never looking at the camera, never listening to me or answering to me, even if I don't talk so much in last films. But it creates an amount of pressure over the people, over the pressure over the cameramans themselves, because they have to decide the shot. They have to decide, they have to find something interesting. It's not my duty. My duty is create an atmosphere there. But the duty of doing something interesting comes from the actors. And to capture this something, it has to be done by the camera operators. It's not me that can be all the time in this chaos, there, with the following the small camera of the cameras and deciding what to shoot. They have to be aware. Obviously, I can do some things, and I always do some things, and we communicate a little bit. But I create an atmosphere, and there everybody has to put its own part. And here it's true that it was very strange, because nudity is involved. A lot of people, some people there were used to my system, but some others were not used, because some actors were new. So it was an heterogeneous, very heterogeneous cast. It means that there were professional actors, non-professional actors, people that worked with me before, technicians of the film, that they do the most outrageous scenes of the film were technicians that they asked them to be part of it 1 week before the shooting. During the shooting, one of the guys that has a very nice scene, totally naked, and it's a nice moment. I asked him to do it the same in the middle of the shooting or at the end of the shooting the same day. So there, it's a little bit like the subject of the film. Everybody is nivelated at the same level, professional, non-professional. Everybody's naked in all senses. Everybody's naked in front of the camera, in the sense that they have any external help. So this creates a special sensation. And then, okay, I create the atmosphere. I try to take profit of some psychological tricks I can get from the actors. When I see that an actor is good doing something, I try to push him or to push her in that direction. But it's just intuitions. It's basically nothing concrete. So, and I try to avoid, because I don't know, maybe I think that if I communicate so much with the actor, I will kill the mystery, because they will know what I want, or I don't know, maybe it's a esoteric thing, but I believe that communication kills something. So I push in the sense that I put some pressure on them, but with nothing concrete. There is no goal. So at the same time, they feel the pressure, but they try to pick up the responsibility of the quality of the film. I pick it up from them. So I mean, they are not responsible. They from the very beginning, they understand and they know. And this, maybe I say at the beginning of the shooting, that they are not responsible of the quality of the film. I am the responsible. But at the same time, I put a lot of pressure with this lack of communication. It's natural. It's nothing, you're in 3 cameras, a lot of people, naked. You don't know until which point this will be more explicit, less explicit, which kind of a scene will do, which kind. And at the same time, nobody is asking you for doing anything concrete. So you are free. But this freedom sometimes is even more, it puts even more pressure. It's even more dangerous for them, because it has to really come from you. So it's a challenge from themselves, because it's not that you are working in a setup that, okay, you do what is expected from you and then everybody's satisfied. No, here, nobody's expecting nothing concrete from you, so you have to. And sometimes this creates a higher degree of stress on the actors, because they really don't, they want to, obviously, because if they are on the film, they are pleased and they trust the goal of the film, but they want to do something, and they want to do something strong, but they don't know how, and they don't know in which direction. And here was perfect with this film because of the subject, a forest, libertinage, random, arbitrary encounters. So everything can happen, and it creates some problems to us, technical problems. That explains very good my system. For example, you know, the mics, that the wireless mics. They obviously, I like that all actors, in a sense that there were a lot of people, all actors should have a wireless mic. But obviously, if you get naked, a wireless mic has a transmitter. So if you get naked, you had the transmitter here and the mic, and you know, it was not useful. And sometimes we're doing these scenes that gradually, progressively, I don't know why, go more in the explicit side, and they get naked and you see them the mic, and you know, I said, fuck. And sometimes we said, okay, don't put the mics, because if we do more explicit scene and we don't know what will happen, maybe, you know, it will be bothering, you know, to have the mic. And then they start having nice dialogues, and you said, fuck, and the camera was too far, and the mics, you know, I don't know, the boom, or were too far. So I never knew in which direction the scene will develop. So for me, it was also a pleasure to leave the film in this way. But it was tense. It was tense because, from my point of view, to create intensity and to give the energy, to put energy on the images, tension is necessary. You cannot make a film, quality film, without tension. From my point of view, maybe it's another esoteric way of thinking, but and then, okay, when nudity and tension it goes together, it's not so funny for them. For me, that's the problem. But okay, but at the end, I think it's a pleasure for the actors, because they really get something unexpected even from them, and they are pleased by what they get. It's to get in the unknown, the real unknown territory, that where the images really grow up spontaneously, really spontaneously, in front of you. From me as a filmmaker, from in front of you as a viewer, but inside them as actors. So this is the most funny thing at the end. And okay, when sex is involved. And maybe the atmosphere of the film is a little bit dark, because the film it's going in a direction that it's, I don't know, making a portrait of atmosphere, of an ambience that is inside the mind of the people there, and the result is what we have there.
You alluded to this a bit earlier, but can you talk about how you edit, given how much footage you amass in the course of shooting? How do you work with 300 hours of footage?
It's a particular way of working. It's difficult to put it in short, but just to understand that it's always a way to follow a little bit the random and arbitrary way of shooting. It will be a little bit absurd or incoherent to starting analyzing the images in trying to look for coherence where it was totally shooted. I think that we will kill some strength of the performance side of the shooting, of the chaotic side of the shooting, if we operate the edit in a normal, conventional way. So first of all, I watch all the images. The unity is the scene, okay? We shoot the scenes, longer scenes, 40 minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours of shooting with 3 cameras means 6 hours, but 1 hour of sound, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours of sound. And so then, usually alone, sometimes with other editors, we watch the images, and me alone, I decide what I like from the images, only using my intuition or my taste. I like this, but what I like, it's very different, you know. I like this dialogue of 1 minute. I like these bright lights of, I don't know, of the moon there. I like the color of these, the leaves of the trees. I like the shoes of that guy, or the color, the orange color of the costume, or I like the gesture he makes when he moves, or the way he walks, or, you know, very, very different kinds of things. And I wrote a time code of everything I like. I like the haircut, or the way he looks at the other one, or I don't know, or the silence here, or whatever I like, only what I like. I wrote it, and then with the editors, when I finish this process, that it takes obviously 300 hours, it takes some weeks or months, and then I put some scenes. Every editor keeps some scenes, and they are following my notes. My notes, it means just this, and they are obliged to edit. And I myself, because I keep some scenes too. We are 3 editors in different rooms in the same building, but in different rooms with 3 different equipments, computers and programs, and we are obliged each one in every scene to edit the film, edit the scene. But only using the things I said I like. What is totally absurd, and sometimes it's very difficult, because he said that he liked, they read, he liked, I don't know, the color of the there, or this costume, and the other guy saying this, and this small dialogue, and this small gesture. How to put it together, how to create a coherent scene, how to create something out of it that has a narrative meaning and that is not totally absurd. But this is the goal. So in some sense, this process follows the arbitrary and the intuition and the idea of the keeping the performance alive during the edit. But at the same time, it's super scientific, because since you have these moments or these details I choose to edit, you cannot escape to it. It means that you have to do it with these elements. So it's half creative, because the choose of elements, it's so diverse and so heterogeneous that it's very creative, because you really have to find a way to make it work, all these elements together. But at the same time, as it's so diverse, there is only one possible way to do it, usually, or maximum 2, because it's so extravagant, the elements I choose, that there is not a lot of possible combinations of these elements. So it means that it's a process that it's half scientific, half creative. And this puts a real nice tension. And at the level of creating meanings, it's totally unpredictable, the meaning that the scene will have. Because, just to put together these totally random elements and try to make something. And then what does it mean? You don't know the meanings, the real meanings. And then it's when all the potential of suggestions and of ambiguities, what is specific of images, ambiguity, because all images are ambiguous by themselves, because you never know, especially when there is a character, and when you shoot a face, you never know what the character is thinking. It's impossible to know what is inside their brain, even if it's a very bad actor that you can almost read through his eyes or her eyes. It's very, very difficult to be 100% sure of what's going on in his or her head. So, but here it increased a lot because of all this process, this ambiguity. And then, okay, it's really, I think, it arrives to that these images have a physical impact on you because of its uncertainty or of its ambiguity, that, okay, you are really feeling a stressful experience as a viewer, because you don't know what's going on. It happened a little bit in the story of my death, and it was one of the feelings that people were not comfortable with the film, or couldn't understand sometimes what's going on with the film because of this. It was a little bit the same sensation. Here, okay, nowadays we are much more sophisticated as editors. I am much more sophisticated as a filmmaker, and the whole ensemble is more coherent, and is more, more, how to say it, it's more refined. It's cute. But it's not as rough as it was in Story of My Death. But the roughness, it's inside. Apparently, it's, there is a nice cover, but inside the roughness is there, and I think it's following the same principles. I am happy for keeping these roots alive.
Mm. So let's maybe shift a bit and talk about the film thematically. There are 2 questions that have come in that relate to this. From Scott Barley, he says Liberté reminds him of Bataille, and wonders if you will be continuing with this in future work. And we have a question that's just come in on YouTube from THM, asking about the relationship with Sade. And this person says that Liberté in some ways seems the opposite of Sade, because the human body is, despite being at the center of the scene, is constantly hidden off screen, then there are anatomic details, but no desire. So I guess if you want to talk about, Bataille and Sade, and
Yes,
whether they were important in
with
conceptual
Bataille, yes, it's the word, the la parte maudite, no? There is this idea of wasting. What is the waste? That a cruising area, what we describe, libertinage in itself, somehow it's touching this wasting, the waste part of ourselves, because what you do in a cruising area, in libertinage itself, it's, well, why do you do this? It's just, really giving something for nothing. No? And this idea is very present on the film. Also in the narrative level and all levels. The actors on the plot, they are, wasting their energy, wasting their desire, wasting their time. We are wasting our energy to build a film that it's not a film, to do a performance that has no concrete goals, to create, to put images together that has no clear meaning. So in fact, it's this idea of wasting as a process, of wasting something. And I think it's important because nowadays that everything is very guided on how you have to make a film because of the TV series, and especially on the plot, on the narrative, or we are used to what gives pleasure to us. All these habits of consummation images has created an immediate reward, and okay, you give your time in exchange of immediate reward as a viewer at the level of plot, of satisfaction, of recognizing element, whatever. But here it's much more difficult, and I think it's one of the values, and maybe the future of cinema images, that will give you something in exchange of nothing, and you will be asking this. You will be paying for something you don't know what it is, just to feel something. It's almost a science fiction movie, what we are living, that you will pay to feel something, whatever, because everything else is so predictable. And here, okay, maybe it's not so great, or not so extreme or whatever, but still, well, you cannot have, as you said, the immersive way. Maybe it's better in the big screen and in the cinema, and also in a collective way, surrounded by other people, what puts a little bit more of amusement and tension. But okay, still you feel an experience, in a physical experience. And with this, because the film was done without any goal in mind, even not thinking about audience. That I was very influenced, as I am in America, with my t-shirt and drinking Coke, and I am a great fan of your country. And one of my heroes was Herb Kelleher, the founder and the owner, one of the main owners of Southwest Airlines. That he had some principles, business principles, but I applied to art. One of them, the most interesting one, and I think it works very well, because he was focused on the workers, not on customers. No, his idea as a businessman was, fuck the customers, we don't care about them, we just care about our workers. So everything in the company at the beginning or always was done just to please the workers. So, and with a smart idea in mind, that if the workers are happy and they are so pleased with working there, maybe by chance this will be transferred magically to the customers, and everything will go smoothly. And when I shoot the film, with just to follow with this idea of the wasting thing, I don't care about the film itself or what we are, even artistically. I really don't care. And this goes back to my roots of my first films. That the reason why I decided to become a filmmaker was because I wanted to have fun. And when I am there, I just want to create some funny moments and to live totally a different life we could never live, of the people around me. And I only care to give them a nice life, and that they can spend moments that they will never imagine that they will live. So for me, this was very important. And I don't give a shit about the people that will watch the film in 1 year later. Who cares about the people that will? I don't care. I don't want to think about if the film will be a little bit more coherent, what will happen with this or that, or if we have to make it. Who cares? These are the customers. I care about the workers. So, but magically, as with Southwest Airlines, because you have the highest customer satisfaction of all airlines almost every year, and because the money, it's not the purpose. It means that I don't know if the film will be successful, or if it will be a shit, or we will lose money or win money, or what will happen. I try to make it small in order not to be in a super risky way that puts a lot of pressure to us. But apart from that, I don't have any other economical goal with the film. But magically, Southwest Airlines was the only airline that won money every year since 1970s. All were like this, like this, like this, and this was the only one that, kept stable on earnings, on good level of earnings, for during 40 years. And they didn't care. Herr Kelleher didn't care about the customers, didn't care about the money. But at the end, magically, it's transferred, this good ambience or this. And here it's especially, radically done with the wasting thing. That everything we do here is for nothing. It's just to have fun, nothing else. We don't care. It's public money in Europe, it's public money. You cannot be ruined, totally ruined. Obviously, you can lose a little bit of money and you cannot earn money and you cannot have a salary. This is possible, but be totally ruined by a film. It's, it's almost out of question. It depends on the film. People that have goals, higher goals or big expenses maybe, but with this kind of films of I don't know, 700,000, 1 million, it's difficult to get totally ruined. So, okay, you put aside this pressure, and then you have the perfect setup for really play the wasting game and do whatever you want. So this was important, and I think it's quite linked with Battaglia and the film, the subject of the film, that maybe we can, it's linked with it. I mean, and libertinage, and because the paradox is that libertinage is this idea of the wasting, because you don't seduce anybody, you don't have sex, even for seducing. It's just to giving pleasure to him, but even without that, even there is no communication. There is, there is no grace in libertinage. It's like a political agenda. We see that in the movie a little bit. There is some talking about it. So it's to oblige people to be a libertine, and this is the paradox, that it's a political cult, political agenda without grace. And well, we have the consequence on this absence of satisfaction of desire of this political agenda. When something politic ends in the personal relationships, the pleasure is over, or the harmony is over, because the politics mix everything. Okay, but still, now this idea of Battaglia, I think it's important for the film. And with Seth, yes, I agree with the question that the body is a little bit out of frame. Not exactly. I would not say, not put it so exaggerated, but because you cannot do a film about Marquis de Sade this simply describing what he's doing. It will be a gore film, and you will never be able to do it with the same strength and credibility as you read it in a book. It's impossible, because in a book you don't have the non-credible things you have in a film, because everything is your imagination. So if the language seduces you, everything, but in a film, at such a radical level, it's impossible, because what will you do? I mean, you will, scenes of super extreme tortures of people. I don't know, opening something here and putting a rat inside and sewing after, and the rat, how can you? How can you shoot it without knowing that it's not true, that it's ridiculous, or that it's so extreme that it's a gore film? It's very difficult to find the tone that it will match Marquis de Sade. So with the film, I opt for using the language, the verbal language, people that when I'm explaining some stories where some atrocity facts are described, but with the language, because I thought I was incapable. You need special effects. You will need special effects, but nobody will believe, because devil, the evil part that Marquis de Sade has, it's very difficult to have to join this evil part and the body, the torture of body, or the pain, or these two things together, and keep the credibility alive. I don't know how to do it, really. I mean, it will always be ridiculous, or, well, maybe I can try. I don't know. You need a lot of time, a lot of conceptual thinking of how to do it, a lot of, I don't know how with the actors, with the special effects. Okay, we can do it for real, like a snuff movie, but I don't know. We are not. I don't know. It's not a way out of trying to put Sade in on images in an easy way. I don't know sincerely how to do it, and I don't think anybody knows, because nobody. Well, Pasolini tried, but it was like a political program also. Try to put inside in a political, how to say, in a political energy, that sad as he made with Christ in the Evangeli, the film about Christ. It's to underline its power on the political level. Well, this, yes, okay, but it will never be, at the physical level of the body. It will never be. It's ridiculous sometimes. If you see the Pasolini film, some scenes are ridiculous if you look at them nowadays, because of this, because the evolution of the people, of what they can see on the images and how they perceive images, is changed so much that to make it credible, it should be real. And I mean, to make it real, I don't know, it's maybe not for me.
Okay, that's a good answer. Pretty sure that's the first time anybody has connected Southwest Airlines to Bataan.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. This is me. But it's true. I was influenced. No, it's not a joke. I mean, this idea, because it was with me at the beginning, because we really don't care. And I decided to become a filmmaker to have fun, to live a different life. We were not rich. We were just bored. And we said, let's do something that, because in the shootings, and for this reason, these films like Liberté are possible. The rules of normal life, the moral rules, the logic of the, and what is the subject of the film are suspended. They do not, apply exactly as in normal life during the shooting. And it's a condensed life where a lot of normal rules are put aside. And this is a little bit this confusion, because a lot of people, fall in love during shootings and separate and it's concentrated in a short time. And I think this confusion, it's also the confusion of the film and the confusion of the night. I took profit of it. In fact, in the shooting of the film, of this confusion of the feelings that people have during shootings, but especially during shootings during the night, because it's not so nice to shoot in the night. Okay, if a shooting, there is one scene on a night, everybody's happy because it's one night, and then they go, and when the shooting is finished, everybody's happy and they drink, and it's one day. But if it's every day, and I don't know, 25 days in a row, they never get used to shoot during the night. It's like if you start working, you will never get used. It's too short. Even people that work as, I don't know, as making bread, or making, I don't know, or being in a hotel, working in a hotel during the night, they never get used. Even if they do this for 10 years, it's something that you never get used to, the change of your timetable. So I think that some of this atmosphere of not getting never used to be shooting at 4 in the night, you don't want to be there, it's outside. It's not your turn. You are waiting as an actor to get in. You don't know if you will have time to do something that day. You're waiting and waiting and waiting, but it's at night. You will want to go to the sleep, to the bed, and it creates an additional tension, an additional dark atmosphere in the mood of the actors that I think that help a lot with the film. Or I don't know if it helped or not, but I took profit of it, and it's the atmosphere that we see on the film.
A follow-up question from Woodcore on YouTube about how you work with your cameramen. It says it seems like they have a lot of freedom. So how do you choose your DOPs?
Yes. Now, well, DOPs, it's different, because DOPs prepare the light, which is very important, and it's very difficult job with 3 cameras, because you can never prepare a good light for this is for the 3 cameras, because they are in different angles, and it's impossible to have good light for the 3. So for the reason, it's not that I like them to having freedom, but it's compulsory that they need freedom, because they have to find the right angle to have the right light for their own camera, for each own camera. So they are obliged to hurry up and to manage to find good images. But okay, then I like to more or less to know the people with I work, because they have to understand that it's important to select parts of what we are doing, because we do always longer scenes with a lot of people. I change a lot. We don't know what we will do. So they are really responsible of selecting, not always, because sometimes we work in a smaller space inside one of the sedan chairs. You know, it's a smaller space. Then you have to, cameras are more fixed. But in general, I prefer when they have more mobility. But when they are there, they are obliged to select, you know, their own shots. We communicate by things, but they are used to not look with a small camera, with a small screen on the camera, but to, you know, move the head and to really, you know, look what's going on, feeling a little bit the atmosphere with the nose, and then, okay, deciding where to shoot and why, you know, to make this a little bit. But it's not very common with camera operators, because they are used to operate one single camera, and it's the director who decides the shot, and everybody knows exactly what they are shooting. And for this reason, we use only zoom lenses, because, well, first of all, because I don't like that the actors know what we are shooting. So with the zoom lenses, they never know which part of their body. So this creates more vulnerability on them, and this creates more ambiguity. But then, okay, they have the zoom lenses to really be able to select what is the more interesting part of what we are doing. And we discovered with this film, especially, and I think this is very interesting also for the audience, that the eye of the camera is capable of seeing things that human eyes cannot see. This is obvious in general, but it never was so obvious, and so this discovery so overwhelmingly visible that done with this film. Because I was there, and we were there with the camera. One of the DOP is also editor of the film. So we were there editing the film, and we discovered a lot of things. But a lot, it means a lot. A lot of things we didn't see during the shooting. And I was there. He was there. He was shooting. I was there. So, and then we realized that the camera, the lenses, the eye of the camera, what I describe as the eye of the camera, has a potential that is totally different. Because, for example, the eye of the camera doesn't get tired, doesn't think, doesn't have ideas. It means that doesn't hear the sound. It means that if you put the camera on a face of somebody or on a dick of somebody, it will not be distracted. It will go and stay there. And if you put there for 10 minutes, it will reveal something that it's impossible that the human eye, this is my eye, can stay there absolutely concentrated and looking only at that face, trying to really go inside and to really understand what's going on there. It's impossible. I will get tired. I will be distracted. Somebody will say something. I will hear the sound. My eyes cannot select a portion of the image. My eyes always see the image, always see everything. So always feel my ears, everything. It's impossible to be as concentrated as the camera. So, but on the other side, my eyes can, I don't know, have an aesthetic potential, can select more beautiful parts of reality, can hear the sound, can predict movement, can follow movement, can do some things that are better than the camera. But the camera is very good in a lot of things. And especially when vulnerability of actors, because they are exposed on a physical way, and when nudity is involved, this vulnerability, it's more, you know, the eyes of the camera are much more useful to really go through this and to really deal with this subject. Because also in personal relations, as a director, as my human eyes, it means that my human eyes with the body of somebody, or with the eyes of somebody, or with a normal relationship with actors, there will be always some friendship or some anything, a human relationship. So it means that it will always be a little bit of, the actors will be able to play with you, or will be able to create, to accommodate somehow. But with the camera, they can't. It's total vulnerability. And I think that is very important. And with this film, and for this reason, independence of the camera operators, it's very important, because it's what keeps this power of the eye of the camera that will push on the vulnerability alive. If they know, everybody knows what we are shooting with one single camera, we prepare the shot, the actor will accommodate, you know, will feel safer, will control the image he's giving, because he will, you know, he will give, and he will not be so scared of the potential of the camera. But with this, okay, then they forgot, because obviously you cannot be scared by the eye of the camera during days or hours. You know, you have to, and they forget. But it's good, because the tension is always there. Sometimes forget for good reasons. It means that they can go on outrageous or on funny things, or on more, you know, playful or light things, but at the same time, I know how to put again the pressure on them using the eye of the camera. So suddenly, vulnerability appears again. So I think it's a more fair, paradoxically, it's a more fair game than communicating directly, where I think that it's more, they accommodate too easily. They I don't know, they create meanings too soon. to explain it in a different way.
Yeah, we actually have a follow-up question about actors from Jason, who says that he's heard that you do not like the vanity of actors and try to push them as a result. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yes, because you need an excuse to put pressure on actors. As I said, you have human relations with the actors, so it means that I cannot push the actors. I will feel bad if I push the actors on, if we put a lot of pressure on them, and I feel them feel bad or very uncomfortable. For me, this as a human being, it will be difficult. So I need an excuse, and my excuse is that their vanity. For me, it's something really awful. Most of them are left-wing people, in general, as all cultural people in the cultural sites in general. Most of them are left-wing people, but I don't think that for left-wing people being an actor it's a good left a good left-wing profession, because what do you, as an actor, what do you do? I mean, you are there, you want to be shooted all the time, your ego, your narcissism, and you want to have money doing nothing or almost nothing. I mean, you are not helping the society, you are not, I mean, I don't know, you're not a doctor, you're not doing something. It's more focused on you and what you get and what you do. I mean, I don't think it's a profession, In general, artists, Plato was against artists because they were not contributing to the happiness of society. So I think that actors are the perfect example of that, because a whole system. So this vanity of, and they get used to it very easily, even non-professional actors, since they are in front of a camera, they get used to this, and this gives a pleasure to them. And you can feel that it's almost a physical pleasure to be shooted, to be the center of the action, to have the best room in hotels. They have even better rooms than me, the director, or even than the producer. So I don't know. This is not for free. I mean, why do you think that the producer, that is who has the money or who is taking care of the money, gives you a non-professional actor, gives you a better room than for herself or himself? The producer, not the filmmaker, that you could say, okay, filmmaker, it's another story, but the producer, why? Why do you think that he's doing this? It's because there is something, something tricky in a change. And it's not, like in this, and it's not something, not legal or not, but it means that in a change of this, you will suffer something because, you have to accept a little bit of tension, some tension in the shooting that it's difficult to accept unless, you are there. First of all, of course, you share the values, the artistic goal of the film. This is one main point, because without this, it has no sense. But then, okay, what you can do, what you cannot do, what is, at the level, what you agree, what you don't agree, what at the level of aesthetic discussions, moral discussions, practical discussions, how many hours we have to shoot, whatever, it's full of, so what, I mean, and the actors, have vanity a little bit, and they think that just because, they are in the center, what it's true, because they deserve a lot of credit of the quality of the film, because they are in front of the final film all the time. They are on the screen. So they really deserve the credit of something very important, because it's on the screen all the time. It's what you see, it's what you receive, what you perceive. So it comes from them. There is no possible special effect on that, or there was no until recent times. But at the same time, okay, I don't know. You need an excuse to push them and to make them do things that they will not do in a normal predictable shooting, or a normal predictable I don't know. And the only way is to not to be aware of what's going on, and I need I need, as a filmmaker, to, I don't know, to hate something there. Without hate, what can you do? If you love everybody, you only will do happy films. So I think that to do films that have that evil has to appear, you need some kind of hate. There is no other way of doing it. From my point of view, I don't know. It's very difficult because there are some things that are very difficult to use for actors. For example, innocence. Not only innocence. How do you create a sensation of innocence in actors, in a face of an actor? It's, it will always be much more authentic to have a real innocent person in front of the camera. Never, ever a professional actor will be able to perform the idea of innocence better than a person with real innocence in front of the camera. So this is ambiguity, moral ambiguity. How, it's very complex to really portray or play the role of moral ambiguity. We have good examples with professional actors, but mainly because of the plot. But without the plot, I mean, just, shooting the face, moral ambiguity, without any resource of the plot. It will always be much, it's too difficult. It's too difficult for actors to do some kind of things, some kind of atmospheres. These two atmospheres, for example, are good examples. And so sometimes, maybe for hate, for evil, without the plot, because I don't work with plots, I work with images. So I need something that it's impressive at the level of the image, that I believe in it as a believer, as if it was icons. For me, actors are icons, are not in the Bresson sense, but in the sense, not models, but icons, the sense that they have to transmit something by themselves without any help of anything external. So there are sensations that I think that the only way to get it is to put it for real inside them. It will never be as real as in reality, and it's not. It's either not, like the typical way of acting of actors studio or whatever. It's more than I don't know, that you feel the pressure, you feel attention, that because of the camera, because the vulnerability, that it will make it's a door open. Vulnerability, it's an open door to a lot of real feelings that can get in, and that by magic can be recorded by the camera. And I don't think that there is a way to do it in a different way with plot or professional actors at this impressive physical impact on the spectator.
So I think we have maybe like 5-10 minutes left. Maybe let's try to get through a few more quick questions, because we have quite a few that have come in. This one is from eel.3. I don't know if you want to answer this, but it's up to you. The question is, what turns you on?
What does it mean, turn you on? Sexual,
what arouses you?
Excite.
Yeah.
Excite. What do you mean? I mean, sexually, or I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know in English exactly.
Yeah, I think the connotation is the implication is what arouses you, what excites you.
I don't know. There is two different levels, artistically, or to use it in artistic word, or
Sure.
personally. Personally, I think it's irrelevant, and I don't know. I don't. As I said, a friend of mine, a writer, important writer in Spain, he said, "I am not interested in myself. I don't give a shit about what I feel or about myself. So I don't know. I'm not interested at all what happens to me. So I'm more interested on what happens anywhere else." And here, I don't know, nowadays, maybe as the film describes, maybe what will be magic will be, to have some harmony, a spontaneous harmony in the communication of bodies between unknown people. I think that this will be really, really magic, because, almost every contact, nowadays it's part of a danger. Everybody I know have some friends, and everybody is scared of having encounters for different reasons, and everybody is having and recording, making pictures, whatever, so it's like that. You cannot spontaneously and innocently behave in a totally free way with unknown people, or with the people is the first time also because of the pressure of social net, that you have to keep your image, or you have to be at the at the level of your image, and it is too much pressure. I mean, I don't know. It's absurd, because this is the paradox. I put some pressure, or I put a slight pressure on the level of the shooting, on the vulnerability on actors in front of the camera, but I am very much against after that. I am totally, and even in that moment, it's because of the harmonic artistic goal. But then I think I would love to, I think that for me, it excites me a lot to come back to the 60s feeling where everybody loves everybody, and in a natural and a spontaneous way, and without vanity. Probably vanity is what kills this possibility. And because if there is no status, then communication is easier at the physical level of bodies. In a harmony, it's much. It's probable. It's more probable it will come sooner or later. I was reading Rousseau memoirs, and well, the subject is always there, and it was already there, But you feel that it was another time, since there is no images of ourselves. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, our self-control in this way. Even nowadays, with this video conference, video
conference.
It's the first time that we are constantly all the time on the mirror, because when I talk, I look at myself. So this will be at the end will be insane, because I am looking myself all the time, and you too, probably during the whole day. So it means that, it will increase even this thing that was already increasing a lot because of the social net and Instagram and Facebook and blah, blah, blah. And now it's physical, it's in real time, and it's in front, so, but you don't look the other person. I look at myself now when I am talking. So in fact, I am listening to myself, what is the worst, because you are doing a conversation, and in fact, you are listening, and it's very difficult to make extraction of that. Well, I do, because I am quite passionate, but you need to be as passionate as me to really forget yourself, or as not interested in yourself as me, to really, hold this vanity thing of making video conference the whole day.
All right, let's try to get a couple quick ones in. Since you mentioned your installation work and multi-channel work, there's a question about Singularity from Pascal. The question is, will you ever release Singularity on DVD?
No, I don't think so. I want that, because we lose money, a lot of money with this project. So I always wait and hope that somebody will buy it and museums will buy it. I am dealing with some of them, and I try to first to get a little bit of money of it, because we really lost money with it, and I am very proud of it. I consider it, I would say, with Liberté, because it's very important, but with Story of My Day, Liberté, and Singularity, my three best works by far. And I think it's a masterpiece, and it's a landmark of contemporary art. But unfortunately, nobody, or just a few people, know, because it's difficult to see. But okay, one day it will be available in a way or another, that's for sure, but not soon. Midterm waiting time.
Okay, last question comes from Alexei. Do you have any projects coming up in English? I know for a fact you have one, so do you want to talk about it?
Yes, I have one project since a long time ago. It's my dream project, in fact. When there is some filmmakers that make a film that it's too much according his own style, when as a criticism they say, I don't know in English, but they say that it's autocomplaisance, self-complacence, autocomplaisant, that you please yourself too much, that you do your stuff, that now I want to do a film exactly like this. I want to do a film that people will say, this is, too much of his own style, of his own. And this was a film about the art wall, where all my craziness, all my dreams, all the things I have lived and dreamed, and where everything should be there in a totally free way, as a totally autocomplacence, as a totally like translated homage of ourselves. And this is an English, but it's very funny. It's a comedy, in fact. My first real comedy. The whole film is think as a comedy, and it's about the art wall. And it was prepared at the same time. It's called I Am an Artist. It's nice, the title. And it's, but we started to develop when the square was released, won the Palme d'Or in Cannes. So we're a little bit disappointed by this, and we put it aside for some time. And now I think we will be back, and it's in English. In fact, and it needs an English start. I was dealing with some of them, but it never happened to never end in a good way. But I know, I mean, I am so confident with the script, and I don't care about the scripts in general, but this one is particularly, I don't know, it's particularly so personal that I love it. And I think that one day it will be done, and it will be very funny, a comedy about, I think it's a parody of myself and about the people around me. You know, it's an auto parody and totally without respect for ourselves. You know, so I think this is the good point of it.
All right, I think we have to wrap up now, but Albert, thank you so much for joining us. Liberté is available to stream at filmlink.org. Thank you again, the Cinema Guild. And Albert, this is great fun. It's always good talking to you.
Yes, thank you very much for, like I said, showing the film. I am very pleased. I've spent very nice time in New York and in Lincoln Center, particularly have shown my previous work, and I am very grateful to you. And okay, hope to see you soon.
We'll bring you back soon, I'm sure. Take care.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.